So it's a joke here that I can't grow California poppies. They grow like weeds where I live. They grow everywhere. I have sown them everywhere. And so I even tried that. A transplant. Even a transplant won't take. There's something that California poppies don't like about my yard. But so moving on with the flower garden. These are zinnias that I started, and I'm not sure why they're having such a hard time. I don't know if it was too hot, too cold, not enough water. The compost might have been hot. This right here is one of my amaryllises that I grew in the winter, last winter, not in this. This was my 2019 amaryllis. It overwintered and went through its cold phase outside, and now it's blooming in the summer. We've got petunias. This fun little bicycle's got a succulent in it, but I'm going to move some more. And then over here, we've got this big plant in the middle is a dahlia, and it will take up most of this pot. But then there's some marigolds and nasturtium, and we have a volunteer nasturtium right there. I've got a couple of them coming up. These are starts that I started in the greenhouse, and then another yellow dahlia down here. And this is a zinnia that should take up that entire pot. We'll see. This plant I planted, but I cannot for the life of me remember what it is. So if anyone knows what this is without it flowering, it is a flower, you let me know. Otherwise we'll wait until it gets warmer. So, and then walking along here, there's in the succulent garden is looking just beautiful right now. I've put some impatiens in there, but just all sorts of succulents and interesting rocks. It's just one of my favorite parts of the garden. There's in the log stools, there's nasturtium in there. And then these pots, that light isn't gonna work. This is bergamot or bee balm. And then in here, there's nasturtium, lots of nasturtium. A bunch of those are volunteers. I only planted one of them. And then what else is in there? Some zinnias and a sunflower that I did not mean to put in there. It may not. It's a little straggly. I don't think it's getting enough sun, so it might need to get moved. And then marigolds and more succulents. The bamboo is, Lincoln likes to say that there might be a tiger in it. It's so tall. And it's doing great. More petunias. These petunias overwintered, which I have never heard of a petunia overwintering before, but they did. And then these little cement bowls. They're around. John Henry and I made them last summer. Oh, his rooster fell over. We'll have to fix that. And then over here we have, this is, as we're moving towards the herb garden, there's, this is hyssop, and then the bachelor buttons, which are always one of my first things to flower. Hello, River. Hi. And then marigolds and nasturtiums. And this pink thing I did plant last year, and it is a perennial, and I don't know what it is. So if you know what this one is, you let me know. Then in the herb garden, up in the filing cabinet, we've got sunflowers, and nothing's really blooming yet, but sunflowers and Roman chamomile and more zinnias. And then the lavender are just looking gorgeous. The sage is looking gorgeous. Rosemary, the monstrous rosemary that I have to prune to keep from not turning into a tree. And this thyme right here just is not happy. So I have a cutting from my other sage that's growing in this pot right here, and I'm going to put that there. So that'll make the circle match. It will go, from this side, it will go spike lavender, true lavender, sage, rosemary, sage, true lavender, spike lavender. So that'll make a fun circle. This thyme, on the other hand, is very happy. And in here we've got calendula and echinacea. Oh, over here here's the mint is looking abundant, as always. And a mum that Emily Orgel gave me. that needed to be moved and is in the plant hospital right now, just waiting to find a new place. And some more German chamomile. And the extension, oh, this thing I wanted to show you. This is my green stalk. Ignore the mess behind it. But this is what the boys gave me for Mother's Day. And it's a vertical planter. It has marigolds, strawberries, and green beans growing in it. So it's really fun. You water it from the top. And then as you turn around, this used to be our strawberry bed. And it now has all sorts of flowers in it. So it has gladiolas, liatris, zinnia. These right here are, they're lupin, but they are not flowering. They should already be flowering, and I don't know what their problem is. So maybe, I don't know, maybe this gets like 5 hours of sun, and I thought that would be enough, but maybe not. And the basil needs a lot of sun, and it's doing okay. So I don't know. That's our gorgeous honeysuckle that came from our friend James Mensick, that we've taken cuttings from and moved from every house we've ever lived in. All right, so then walking back into the garden, we have the other little lavender patch, and this is looking very weedy, but that's because I'm waiting for the German chamomile to come up before I weed, and it's starting to come up. But as you can see, this thyme is also very happy. There's lots of thyme. They're also planted in this walkway, and again, waiting. I need to have John Henry take care of these pots. But this is thyme, and this is thyme, and this is thyme, and there's one right there and one right there. And hopefully they'll, excuse me, eventually fill in at this space between the border and the walkway, like this one has, get big like that. Excuse me. Another one of my plants that's looking for a more permanent home is this thing in this black pot is my ambassador hibiscus. Excuse me. That Sarah Bell gave me. And I have my new asparagus bed. The baby asparagus are looking adorable. And on the end, there's some rhubarb and some sunflowers growing there. Okay, we'll move on into the vegetable garden now. So let me flip the camera. So the potatoes started to flower over on the far side there. So we'll be harvesting potatoes soonish, probably in a month or so. My weed buckets are really full and need to be emptied, but I'm waiting to weed the paths. Onions, the cherry tomato is starting to flower, and I planted radishes around it, and it looks like there might be a couple that have germinated. It's looking a little bit weedy in here. That's okay. The arugula is just gone to wild, beautiful flowers, and it just makes me so happy. So I leave it there. I leave it alone. We're harvesting tons of lettuce, multiple times a week. Mixed in with the lettuce, there is chard, there's kale, and the onions. The onions are on this side, and also there's a couple of tomatillas in there that are little right now, but as the lettuce finishes up, they'll have more room to grow. Oh, and these are ready to harvest, but look at those beautiful radishes. Oh, look at them. So pretty. And they are a spicy variety. There's a cabbage tucked in there. The reason I tuck some of those in is because sometimes I can get away in this time of year with a brassica. Like the kale's not so bad, but we just have terrible cabbage moth here. And I lose most of my spring cabbages to them. but sometimes if they're tucked in secret little places, they don't find them. So over in this bed where the dogs ate all of the, oh, can you hear our rooster? Isn't that lovely? Where my dog ate all the snow peas in here is now planted in cranberry beans, and they have come up. They are these little guys right there, and we have cilantro and kale. On the other side here, these are fava beans, and there are cucumbers planted on the other side of that trellis for when the fava beans finish, then the cucumbers can come up the trellis. And we have more arugula, which hasn't all gone to seed yet. Sunflowers, which have cranberry beans growing up them, and they have this one is germinated. Let's see what else is in here. This one has one that bugs are eating, and a little one that has germinated, and this one has one that has germinated, I think. Maybe. Doesn't look like the cucumbers have germinated. One thing that's different is I do have at least most of my irrigation system in, so it runs along the bed, and then each bed has a soaker hose that I can shut off individually. And then if we turn around, the squash are all up, just barely. They're just little babies. So these are 6 zucchini, and then 6 patty pan. And this I'm super excited about. These little guys right here, those 3 little plants are, they are loofah gourds. So they'll have to be trellised up. They'll get trellised up the swing set. I'll put something on there to trellis them up. But so in this bed, which is about 4 by 12, I am growing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 squash plants. And the reason I'm able to do that is because I use high density planting methods, and I prune them extensively. So I did that last year. It worked wonderfully. Tomato bed is looking glorious. They have gone through their first prune. They all have started to be tied up. And you can see that even as they get bigger, they're going to have plenty of room. And they've gone through their first pruning and survived it just fine. Got a little bit of leaf curl happening on the bottom of some of them still. That's from just left over from, they had a really hard transplant because of how hot it's been. And that's fine. If they don't recover, they can just be pruned off. So some of them are starting to flower. And they're tall enough that I'll let them. Usually in the beginning I pull all their flowers off, but they're a good 2 feet tall. I'll let them start to flower. And over here I have the cabbages, some cabbage moth damage, but I've pulled a few. That's why there's empty spots here that I will fill in with something. I have a few more things that I want to put in, a cucamelon and some other things like that. And then, sorry about my cough. The air conditioner does this to me. These little things, look at these beautiful little plants. This is a Malabar spinach. And now that it's hot, I've got 3 of them. I'm really excited about that. I've never grown Malabar spinach, so I'm looking forward. It will get trellised up this cattle panel. And then there's cucumbers. This one died, but these 4 will go over the edge. On that side, there are beans, just regular beans, just bush beans that will be done by the time that I can grow them there, because they'll be all finished by the time the Malabar spinach is high enough to shade them out. miracle. The artichoke is just all, in her full glory. She's so beautiful and amazing. So if you don't know the story, this artichoke volunteered there from I had let an artichoke flower, like I had let one of the heads flower. And when I pruned it off after it was dried, I had a mini compost pile there, and I threw it there. And a plant that I did not recognize started growing there, but I was so intrigued by it, I let it keep growing. And this is what it grew. And I even took a split off of her this year. And I have had to prune quite a bit to keep my path open. And she just does not care. She is living life in her full glory and happiness. This bed is interesting. All these little things are black beans that we literally took out of our pantry. They were organic black beans that were grown, certified by Organic Tilth, and grown, I think, in Corbett, so not too far from here. So I figured that they were a good variety to grow here, and we planted this whole bed in black beans so that we can grow dried black beans. And they germinated this week, and they're still germinating. They're not full. This bed will be full. And in places where I don't have germination, although I didn't know what to expect because these were beans that I had bought to eat, not to plant, but there are several that have multiple germinations in the hull. I will transplant them into where I have, where the germination hasn't been as good. Like this corner over here doesn't have anything coming up yet. So over in the last bed, we have the borage and the bachelor buttons looking amazing. I have a cayenne in this. I only grow one. That's all I need. I really don't need a lot of cayenne. I only use it as a spice. I have more bush beans coming up right here. These little plants are eggplants. They are Japanese eggplants. And they went into transplant shock. It's just been so hot. And but they seem to be greening back up. So I think we're going to be okay. And then we have regular cucumbers. And then these bigger plants are yard-long cucumbers. So we'll see. They grow to be 15 inches. They're not really yard-long, but 15 inches. Oh, there's also some fennel in here. And then on this side are personal-sized watermelon. And it looks like I may have lost the center one there. So that's disappointing, but hopefully the other two will grow and get us some baby watermelons. I've never successfully grown watermelons here. We don't have the greatest climate for it, but and then the artichoke bed is looking, I'm harvesting artichokes every couple of days. The swimming pool this year has John Henry's pumpkins in it. They have not germinated. We used some old seeds, and we're just going to need to do it. We're just going to need to do them again. They just didn't germinate. So we'll go through the remainder of the wild jungle and into what will be the winter squash patch when I get it. That's on next week's list. And then we have onions, garlic, getting ready to harvest. This, I did not know I had planted soft neck garlic, but evidently I did because there's no scapes, which is a little disappointing. I love garlic scapes. The back of these beds all have elephant garlic in them, and I did get scapes from those. And they're getting ready to harvest. So when the leaves start to die off, and it's usually about the 2nd or 3rd week of June. And then these beds, when I harvest them, will have my peppers in them, which are in the greenhouse. And look at these beauties. Look at those beautiful onions. So they're getting close, and they're just in their last maybe couple weeks of bulbing up, letting them get big until it's time to harvest them. And also some elephant garlic back there. This was an interesting little part of my garden. This is actually an herb called El Campana. I think that's what it's called. El Campana, something like that. And those will get really big. They're perennials. And then these two bushes right here, sorry, I haven't finished my wood chipping, but are honeyberry. And so this year they weren't old enough to eat or to really produce. They produced 2 berries between the two plants, and they were delicious. So I ate one and I gave Lincoln one. So we're excited for next year when they'll be 3-year-old plants then, and they should produce fruit. All right, and that is the end of the garden tour.